Welcome, beautiful, beautiful ones. Whoever that's here with me live, thank you so much and welcome. My name is Liying. If this is your first time with me, thank you so much for being here. I am a Chadao ceremonial keeper and a spiritual mentor. I work with women specifically, for now anyway. And I also work with corporations and beautiful companies that are really centered upon opening up their hearts to receive the most divine expression through surrender, through stillness, through what is known as the way of tea. And the way of tea is something that I want to start with today. Firstly, in its original language, the way of tea is Cha Dao. And this should give you a little clue to what I'm going to dive into, because when we speak about Cha Dao, you can tell that the Cha itself is a singular word, and then Dao itself is another word on its own. And if Dao is a new word for you, Dao basically is the very life force or a principle that governs all there is, everything that is here in the physical and non-physical realm lives with Tao, is Tao. And so Tao itself is a very hard to grasp idea sometimes. And of course, in the most ancient text about Tao, Tao Te Ching, the first verse already said, the unnamed shall not be named, and if it is named, then it is not the unnamed, which is Tao itself that's referring to. So it is a very ineffable idea, yes, but also it can be a microcosm of the macrocosm, and this is the essence of Tao. Tao itself is almost like a capsule of the cosmos, to remind us that as human beings, who we really are is all there is. Imagine a tree, yes, and we are all the leaves that came from the tree. We carry with us the full DNA of the tree. And this is the truth of all tea trees, actually, and all that is in the plant kingdom, let's put it that way. But in specific, it reminds us that we are all fractals of the divine. We are all fractals of the divine. And what does that mean? That means that we are all divinity in human form. We all carry the wholeness, the holiness of the divinity that gave birth to us. And that divinity can be known as Tao at the same time, right? So in essence, that is what Tao is. And so you can drink tea, you can have the most relaxing sensation and enjoy the flavor of tea and enjoy the aroma of tea, but never actually understand what Tao is and never actually experience it or even dip your toe into it. Whereas you can have that experience of Tao, you can embody Tao even without ever having tea. And that is the truth. That is the truth I want to preface this entire live session with, first and foremost. So it is a way, and it is the way for me, and it can be the way for you. And so it is an introduction, so that if you feel something moving through you, know that it is truly a transmission that is here to land in your heart, in your soul. I'm not speaking to your mind. I'm speaking to your soul. I'm speaking to the Tao within you. And I want to share a little story about why I want to come in and talk about deep listening. The whole premise of Cha Dao itself lies upon deep listening. Deep listening. Now, first, I want to ask you a question. And if you could answer me in the comments, that would be incredible and really fun. And I love to engage with you. So if you can, that would be great. I would like to ask you a question, being someone who is devoted to your well-being, perhaps, or your spiritual connection, your spiritual experiences, your spiritual well-being, or your holistic well-being, do you ever feel that there is almost a sense of like, I have to constantly be good, or that there is not enough, that I need to keep gaining all of these knowledge? There's so much information out there, right? And it almost feels like there's this untouchable next level all the time. And maybe it gets exhausting, to a point where it's like, wow, like there's still so much I need to heal, right? A lot of times I get this a lot. Like, I need to heal this. I need to heal this first before I do that. I need to heal that first before I do this. And this was where I found myself actually at the very, 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 very beginning of my journey. Hello, Holly. Welcome. When I was, let's cycle back to about more than 10 years ago now. I was, going through a huge crisis in my life. I had eating disorders for about 10 years of my entire life, and struggling with body issues was actually rooted deeply in a sense of, not knowing who I was. I always had that question as far as I could remember of, who am I? Why am I here? And what does love mean? And so with this, it became something, because the question felt like it went unanswered, because I was seeking outside of myself a lot for that answer. Eventually, I found a way to cope with it by suppressing that side of myself. That belief that became really, it had a grip on me was, protect myself, don't give away too much, and don't love, because the minute you love, you will be disappointed. Or work really hard so that nobody will say anything bad about you. Nobody has a way of penetrating you in that sense of like saying that you're not good enough. And yet it was just this constant wild goose chase where it was just never enough. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so my eating disorder got to a very, very bad state. I had to be hospitalized. I had to have IV drips hooked up to me. And it came to a point where I even had a thyroid around my chin area, because, I was able to hide all these things. But by the time it actually appeared around my face, it became very obvious that I had to really deal with it, let's put it that way, right? Like I had to really meet it face to face, quite literally. And so I had a choice. Do I keep doing this to myself and eventually die? Or do I make a decision to go full on into healing myself, to become healthy again? And I chose the latter. And this was an interesting time in my life, because I was working in my home country, Malaysia, at the time. And I received a job offer right around the same time to work in Hong Kong. And I accepted it. And right around this time, it became a very beautiful gift, because I was able to completely start all over again in a city where nobody knew me. And so my weight and everything didn't bother me, because I didn't have people who knew me before. And the way that it hurt me so much while I was yo-yo recovering was that when I was healing and my weight shifted, people couldn't recognize me because it was such a big difference, So I was in the city, totally new to that world, and it was a huge manifestation, because I've always wanted to live in Hong Kong. Going through my own recovery, fully recovered after a year in, happy with my eating, happy with starting, my journey in yoga and meditation, coming to understand what inner peace is. And the final peace came in the form of a media invitation. And at this point, I was very much, meditating every night before I went to bed, but it was a very surface level of practice. It was always about, I honestly didn't have any teachers at that point. I was really very much basing it off YouTube, which is why nowadays I strongly talk about this all the time, which is yes, you can gather information everywhere, including where you are right now, but nothing can replace the experience. Nothing can replace the transmission of a mentor or a teacher that you feel drawn to work with. And this leads me to the next story, which is with that immediate invitation, that immediate invitation was to a tea ceremony. And I was at the place where I was like, I love tea and I've never really been to a tea ceremony. Why not? And I went, and I remember walking through this beautiful space, opening up the rice paper door and going in and sitting down on the floor, sitting around this table with the woman who was serving the tea in this beautiful ancient Chinese practice. And I remember receiving the bowl from her with so much love, in reverent silence. There was no words that passed between us. And I had such a deep, profound connection in that moment to all the ancestors in my lineage. I saw all the women, and the women I knew, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, and then beyond. Those I have never seen before, but I knew who they were, like they were part of my lineage. And I knew in that moment, the very first time in my entire lifetime, this lifetime at least, what it meant to return home, what it means to love, what it means to be home. And this was a huge thing for me because I've always sought for that home outside of me. It's like I traveled so much, I left Malaysia, went to Hong Kong, and I traveled all around the world. I was living in Paris for a while, and then I went, I had a job that took me to all the most incredible spaces and places, and I was living out of my bag basically as a journalist, and never found a place that really felt home. And until now, and that was within me. Has always been within me. And beyond that, I heard a very distinct voice, which I know, and I call her Tea Spirit today. The voice told me, you have to drop everything you know and go and serve tea. And this was a space where I was given the opportunity to deeply listen. And this deep listening goes beyond listening with the ears. It went beyond the mind. It was a listening from the soul, of the soul, as the soul. And so, guess what happened after that? Let me know if you want to guess, and put it in the comments. Chanel is saying, yes, I feel like I'm always standing on the tip of a huge iceberg and not knowing how to get deeper. Yeah, that is the thing that's happening so much right now, that I'm seeing so prevalent in the spiritual world, of what it is. And I think I've made this, well, I don't want to say I've made this, but I feel this is what I'm here for. And it is to share that the deepening that is required, it comes with deep listening. And this is where I will go in a bit. But yes, to finish that story, I quit my job in Hong Kong without knowing what my next step really is. All I knew was that I'm here to share tea, and this is going to be my devotion. This is going to be the mission that I'm going to be moving forward with. And that led me to the next door, which opened up to living with my then boyfriend, now husband, in Edinburgh in Scotland. And this is where I'm based right now. I'm in Scotland, in Edinburgh, and I have the honor of just sharing tea all around the world, through retreats, online courses, programs, mentorships. And it's just been so divine and so incredible. So let's talk a little bit about what I have experienced right there. Firstly, like I said at the beginning of this live session, Cha itself in Cha Dao, cha means tea. And tea is nowadays seen as such a common beverage, right? Everyone drinks tea. It's one of the world's largest exports all across the world. For China, Japan, Taiwan, in particular, South Korea. And the tea that I'm speaking about in particular right here is actually the Camellia sinensis species. So it is in the form of, you may have seen it in the form of red tea, white tea, pu'er, oolong, black tea, which is different from red tea, obviously. And they originate from the tea that I work with. They are all of indigenous origin, and this is my vow and my promise and my commitment when I share them in my ceremonies and in my work. So this tea began their life thousands of years ago, before humans even walked this earth, and they began life in a forest without a name. And then they were discovered by a beautiful mythic, I would say mythic, because this emperor himself is, it comes from a time before the imperial Chinese dynasties, and we will call him Shen Nong. His name is the divine farmer, translated. And he founded traditional Chinese medicine, firstly, and he declared that tea is the empress of all herbs. He was a bit of like a Chiron character who would go around tasting herbs and plants, finding a medicine and understanding their medicinal properties and all of that. And for him to declare that tea is an empress of all herbs is a huge thing. And so we find that, beyond the fact that it has a great flavor, which is one of the characteristics of tea, to attract human beings, to help her to propagate her seeds all around the world, let's put it that way. The very, very genesis, the origin of tea is as a medicine. Shamans have used tea for a long time to cross from the seen to the unseen realms, and as a medicine for the village residents. And I want to preface this: when I say medicine, it's not what we see as medicine today. It's not a medication to fix something, but it's for maintaining health. It's for maintaining your holistic well-being, mind, body, and soul. So we used to call them tea doctors, and then shamans, and then eventually Chan monks use it for their meditation, because they found that it awakens the mind, sharpens the mind, and opens the heart, right? And so this is the story of tea that has been recorded. But what about the story that has not been recorded? What about the story before it's actually become a commodity? And this is what I was and am interested in sharing. The forest that we speak about, there is this forest of tea trees that are deeply listening. And the only way to create the most beautiful and the finest tea is to listen to the plant, to listen to the leaf, to listen to the environment. In the same way, because as we drink tea, tea becomes us and we become tea. We begin to open up and listen deeply to ourselves. We start to listen deeply to what our body is saying to us. Because let's not forget, illnesses, any sickness, any mental health issues even, or even accidents actually, they are first and foremost a build up of energies that have nowhere to go. We are all energy. Everything's energy. Imagine you're this giant vortex of energy, and you're always ever expanding because you are a cosmic being. You are a microcosm of the macrocosm. The macrocosm, which is the cosmos, which is ever expanding. And what happens in the expansion? You expand and you have to anchor, right? And then you expand and then you anchor. Just like your heart, you inhale and you exhale. And you can see my body is expanding. And when I exhale, my body is contracting. But that contraction is needed to anchor in your new expanded energetic field. And so we must understand this. And why I'm mentioning this is because too often we think that the contraction is a bad thing. It isn't. The contraction is so needed. And that contraction can happen in the sense of, okay, I had a very expansive weekend. Let's put it that way. For example, I went to this retreat and it was so fabulous. It was amazing. And all of the things I was like, oh, so much opening, right? What follows after that? Oftentimes people don't understand. They keep that channel open and then boom, they find themselves in an accident. They break their leg or they feel like a flu is coming down. Oh my gosh, up level, upgrade symptoms, whatever. But I'm telling you here, you don't need that when you are aware of the process. That comes with deep listening. What is happening when you expand is that you must come into your inner landscape and anchor that in. How? Very simple. Firstly, through your breath. Your breath helps you to come inward. Your breath helps you to anchor in to where it is calling you to. And this is something I go in depth into as I move into the space of mentorship. So if this is something you're interested in, I would love to have you. I have actually a free experience tomorrow. You can check out the link in my bio for that. But what you really want to be able to do is to move beyond the mind, move beyond who you think you are. Because the more you know, you tell yourself that I this is who I am and this is not going to be possible, this is not me, and this is da. So much of who we think we are is actually a conditioning that we picked up. And in fact, let's put it that way, many ancestral heritage or lineage that was left to us that we didn't even, it's not us. And this is the thing, claiming ownership, claiming full responsibility is to understand who you really are. And that comes with deep listening. So I spoke about tea. Now we move into the Tao, Cha Dao. The Tao of Cha Dao is the ceremony, living in ceremony. And here's the thing, I'm going to be very honest with you. I am so blessed and so grateful that I have ceremony in my life. Because on days when I forget, on days when I'm like, you know what, I don't know if I can make it through this challenge or that moment of sadness or grief or even anger or resentment, I come into ceremony, I sit with tea, I commune with spirit, I come back to who I really am, and then I remember there is something in the ritual where I don't even need to know what I'm doing anymore. I just so naturally move with the method that it brings me back to center again. And this is why ceremony creates, this is why the ceremony, I always say this, it carries a sacred geometry into which you go. Once you enter that portal, you arrive, if you allow yourself, that is, I want to say this, because it does take dropping your mind into your heart and opening your heart up to receive. It isn't about feeling and feeling and feeling and doing and doing and doing, proving yourself and seeking and seeking and seeking. It is about being, overdoing. It is literally, Cha Dao is the antithesis of seeking. It is a deliberate art of not doing. And this is why there is no end to Chadao. It is infinite. It is a fractal upon fractal and upon fractal and upon fractal. And ultimately, it is as simple as chopping wood, putting the water on the fire, boiling it, picking up the kettle, and pouring tea. And through this powerful practice, one begins to see the extraordinary in the ordinary. Why? Because when we move in the sacred geometry of the ceremony, we are accessing codes that have been literally a channel that has been purified by thousands of years of sages and goddesses and gods and all the shamans, all the monks, all the ancestors who came before us, who held this energy of ceremony. And we're simply planting ourselves in the center of it. And let's not forget this. You are the new ancestor. Who you are today is going to leave a legacy, whether you are conscious of it or not. You are going to leave a legacy for the future generations. So remembering you are love, remembering that you are peace, remembering that you are the sacred union of heaven and earth right here in human form, right here, nowhere else, never nature. Removing your mind from the past, placing it right here in the now, that is when your infinite presence can shine through, can be expressed fully. And so if you are here and you're sitting here and you're thinking, stop thinking. You know, so many, I love this, and of course, there's nothing wrong with it, and there is nothing wrong about anything, by the way. In the tea space, I commit myself to non-judgment, highly. Everyone from scientists to mystics, from all religions, they get to sit here together, and it's a beautiful space to witness. Because here we are speaking from the soul. We're speaking from the heart. We're not trying to defend. We're not trying to react and protect ourselves. We're literally here to listen. And this is my commitment when I hold space. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm not here to fix you as well, because you are entirely whole to begin with. There's nothing wrong with you. If there is a conditioning you desire to release, let's do it. And the reason why you desire to release it is because your soul knows that that is not the truth. And it's urging you to move through it, to let it untangle itself, to let it unknot, to let it, even if it's calcified through so many years of holding tight, you get to melt it with love. Because there are no power more powerful than love. This is the love that doesn't require reciprocation, because this is cosmic love. This is cosmic love that is who you are. That is all there is. And you know what? As all there is, you understand this very, very one thing. Ultimately, we all came from the source. So anything that you see beyond you that is, creating some kind of tension in your body, some kind of contraction in your body, someone who is annoying you, someone who is really insulting you, someone who is putting you down, they are all the face of the divine. That is you. Part of the play. Please do not forget who is the main character of the play. Do not forget that. And this is where the Chadao tea ceremony plays into a beautiful place of, it's not about saying, you know what, my mind is the one who's playing tricks on me. I hate it. I just wish that I could just switch it off, or I need to kill my ego, right? I hear a lot of that in the spiritual world, but it isn't about that. What I'm here to share is that you taking back the driver's seat as the soul, as the source, as the divine royalty that you are. What that means is that you get to bring your logical mind, your driving mind, and squeeze it and hug it and embrace it and say, look, I get it. I get it. You are the personality that I built to protect me back in the day that, whatever it is that I don't really need that anymore, because I know who I am. I know I am the soul. I'm here to create the most beautiful life ever. And oftentimes, as the creator, I have to go first. I don't need to see the evidence that it works. I don't need anyone's approval, because ultimately there is only one that's standing here, which is the divine, and all of us are fractals of it. If I believe, if I deeply know, I deeply listen to myself and I know who I am, not the who I am that someone gave to me, not the how I look on social media, but who I am being, that I'm speaking about here. If I know deeply who I am and I'm centered upon it, everything else blossoms from there. My actions, my words, everything will shift. Everything. And you are now you're funneling your energy into all the right channels. You're lit up, you're healthy, you're thriving, you're looking younger than ever. These are things that I often hear. But what's more is that you're living in ceremony every day. What that means is that everything is appreciated. Everything brings joy to you. It is not circumstantial. And I'm speaking about joy in a way that is so deep. Is that deepest layer of our skin, right? That is it epidermis or dermis? Even beyond that, it's in your bones. Joy isn't something you have to earn. Joy isn't given to you. It is here. It is who we are. Bliss is who we are. And yes, we may have tears shedding out. We may be shedding tears. We may be in anger sometimes. But these are emotions that ride. They're waves that come through. They're waves. And let us not forget that we are the ocean. We are the ocean. And so here I am sitting here. I would wish for you to experience this deep listening for yourself. So there is a free experience tomorrow that you're welcome to join me, called All There Is. And the information will be on my profile, okay? And for today, I want to just leave this with you. Please know this. You are more than all the people who wronged you. You are more than your past. You are more than the future that you do not know. You are here now. You are alive. And all there is, the divine, desires to be expressed through you. So how do you want to allow that today? Receive before you do. Yeah? Receive before you do. Total ascension. Yes. We're heading to that place. We're heading to that place. And it is an experience. And I wish I could share it as an information with you. And I know there's so much out there. And I'm frankly, personally, quite bored with that. I want to experience that. And that's why I'm offering that beautiful free experience for all of you. Because I think there is enough information to drive us insane. And look, I am an intelligent woman. So are you, intelligent person, I'm sure. And we are all so intelligent these days that we forget what it feels like to really feel. We're all up here all the time. Yeah, I think I know what that means. Yes, I think I was angry. I think I was, my childhood was playing out. I think. And it can only take us so far. Someone on the internet can tell you how you felt and what you should have done. Someone in your family told you, you probably should do better, or like maybe you shouldn't feel sad for so long, or like maybe play small. Don't leave Hong Kong. Don't fly to Edinburgh. Don't do this entrepreneurial thing because there's no guarantee. There's no evidence that it will succeed. And I ask you today, what kind of life would you like to live? What legacy would you like to live? Not leave. Let's not even go there yet, because you have to live your legacy first. For me, I want to be able to deeply listen, to bow evermore in the presence of the infinite. That is who I am. That is who you are. We are all infinites walking this earth, and this is my vision. This is my commitment. I want to see all of you treating yourself as the sacred luxury that you truly are. Because when you start to treat yourself with reverence, and you start to understand what humility really feels like, and you're able to embody that, there is inner peace. There is peace all around us. There will be peace all around us. But it starts here in ourselves. It starts from the home within. If we're not home, anyone can come into our body. Anyone can come in and take advantage or take a part of us. So we have to be home. We have to be fully home. And Cha Dao is just one of the beautiful ways to do so. Yes. So my loves, I want to bow to you for sharing my work, if anyone feels called. And if you are here, thank you so much for really staying on for the entire live session. And if you like to join me in All There Is, the link is in my bio. And yeah, everything else, if you have any thoughts or questions, drop me a comment or a DM. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much. Just giving a moment, making sure I didn't miss any comments. Okay, all right. I'm just going to hop off now because I have a mentorship activation ceremony coming in a couple of minutes. I see a beautiful woman here that's on my live. I hope that she's still here. I'm not sure. Who's also part of the mentorship. So I'm really excited to see you very soon. Yes, it feels like forever. It feels like it's been forever. It's just been so wow. Like time really is collapsed in a mentorship space like this because we go so multidimensional. Truly, Cha Dao is a way of living. It's a way that, at first, my personal experience was like, I experienced that opening, and then I got really interested in the tea and the ritual. And then from the ritual, it went into the teaware, like what's the best ceramic, and all of those things. And then eventually it ripples out into my life. It ripples out into your life. And it becomes one with you. The harmony, the reverence, the codes of the tea practice, the tea ceremony becomes one with you. You do things with more care. You see the world through sacred eyes. And, it's never really about, me against the world anymore. It really is, everything is happening for me, as me, through me. Because you can really feel that cosmic wisdom moving through you. And I will leave it there because It truly is an experience you have to experience for yourself, because the transmission from tea is very unique to each person. So your journey cannot be compared, just like every tea cannot be compared. It cannot be compared because every tea is unique. There's so much beauty in this wisdom of deep listening. You know, listening to the tea to understand how would she like to be brewed, listening to the leaves for the artisans, how does she want to be crafted to bring the best quality of the leaf out as tea. You know, that requires really deep listening. And this is something you will learn so that you move from very gross energy to subtle energies, so that you start to feel your intuition rising within you, the formlessness of that. Even before it becomes physical, you already know, you have the deep knowing, full conviction of your vision, of your devotion, of your love, right? All of us want the freedom, the relationship, and all of the beautiful things. So empower yourself with tools. This is the ceremony itself. It empowers you with the way to be fully liberated, to be who you really are. Not what people are telling you to be, not what people are telling you to look like, but who you really are. Remember this. All right, my loves, thank you. And if